over with. There's no point for us to keep on talking, Sophia. There is no point for us to keep on talking right now. Hey, listen, God bless you. I appreciate you for reaching out. We disagree.
It's okay to be wrong.
I agree with you. It is okay to be wrong. With that being said, you trying to facilitate black people getting their land stolen because your stepdaddy's things is wild. It is wild. All right. This is all right. Like, I am what? Everything I'm saying is based off the article that Trent and the Roundtree Company, obviously, you know what I'm saying, sanctioned and gave a thumbs up to. Y'all crazy in y'all head if y'all thought I wasn't going to use the platform I put blood, sweat, and tears in to talk about what's going on in my community right now. You see what I'm saying? And I'm really annoyed right now because Roundtree's niece had the nerve to try to talk to me and talk down to me like I don't know what's going on in this system. Like I don't know how the world works. You see what I'm saying? The thing that I know, if y'all know Brian, Texas, how I am. You see what I'm saying? Born and raised on the West Side. Insulting my intelligence is probably the best thing you can do to get me to turn up. Because then I know how to, you know what I mean? And listen. The fact that it's been so many black people that's been duped by a horribly written article, it's really baffling to me. The idea that, hey, y'all don't know what's going on, so y'all should shut up. Let me tell y'all something. In this video, I'm going to give y'all 5 different tactics that's been historically used to steal land from black folks. And I'm going to show you how, based on the article, not my feelings, not my emotions, based on the article, in the conversation I just had, Roundtree's niece, how they playing with y'all. They playing with us. They pissing on our hands and then telling us it's raining. If you make a statement and say, hey, it's not as simply as y'all put it, that statement is not one of negation. You feel me? This horribly written article that says that Mr. Simmons inherited 37,000 acres of land. So an article written with a whole bunch of typos and mishaps is what y'all is taking as being key. It's 5 tactics that have been used from Bryan, Texas to California to New York to steal black folks' land. And right now, to be clear, this is the narrative that y'all pushing right now, right? This family has different conflict and disagreements about the land. And as a result, it is cool for a real estate developer to come and exploit and literally benefit from the disarray of a black family. That is the family's fault, not his fault. That's what Sophia, you feel me, the niece just told me and really pissed me off. If we can acknowledge that y'all are trying to use the lack of a clear air to steal land, that's how, that is the oldest tactic. That is the oldest tactic.
Somebody has stole part of our land without our knowing. I took care of her for 30-some years, and she inherited this property. This property right now that I'm fighting for, my wife inherited from her father. Her father was making 35 cents a day when he bought 45 acres from Judge Barron. The street out front is named Barron. Barron cut off because they got the other street with the subdivision called Barron.
5 reasons. The history of heirship has been exploited to facilitate the stealing of black-owned land in America through various methods. 3 of these methods is identified very clearly in the article that's horribly written, that's supposed to be in the case for the Roundtree. They obviously paid for this shit, you see what I'm saying? But they ain't pay their money good enough. They should have went to a better journalist. Sarah, you the person that wrote the article. Sarah, I don't know what school of journalism you graduated from, you feel me? I don't know if you was in a hurry to get that check signed and cleared from the Roundtree, but this article that you read that's circulating through Bryan College Station is horribly written. Not only is it horribly written, it brings more questions than it does answers. It brings more questions than it does answers. And for the people too that always ask, hey, George Lee, why you don't want to do nothing in Brian? The way that y'all jumped on this hate train on Fabi and Mr. Simmons based off of this horribly written journalism, but let's get into these reasons, man. Let's get into these reasons. The first reason that's obviously identified in here, or the first way that's been very popularized for different real estate development companies and different entrepreneurs to be able to steal land from black people, is called the partition of sales. One common method through the partition of sales is where co-owners of heir property can legally force the sale of the land. Since the heir's property often has multiple owners, this is literally the fact that this woman tried to say, or so-and-so told me to reach out to you, you don't know what you're talking about. Ma'am, you are given the partition of sales as a reason and justification for the Roundtree to be able to develop this land. And then the article written in a way that makes it where he the victim. And then when I talked to this woman on the phone, she wanted to make it like her stepdaddy was the victim. He not the victim. He not the victim. Number two, I'm calling right now. When the other family members of Mr. Simmons that obviously didn't like him start coming out, the argument they're going to make is going to be centered around the lack of clear title. Number two, the first three normalized tactics that's been normalized in America to steal land from Black people is partition of sales, lack of clear title, and predatory actions. Partition of sales, one common method, I'm going to say it again, one common method through the partition of sales is where co-owners of the heir's property can legally force and sell the land. Since heirs' property often have multiple owners with varying interests and financial needs, it can be vulnerable to manipulation by individuals or entities seeking to acquire the land of the lower value. The niece of Roundtree people that sit there and told me on my face and goddamn Facebook Live, Facebook phone, that Mr. Lee, because the Brown family has this disarray in their family, this justify our company, my stepdaddy taking from them. And this is how I know what I was clicking on that post, because why would the stepdaughter of the owner of the real estate company reach out to me if you're not threatened by what I'm saying and what I'm putting together and what I'm doing? You see what I'm saying? Especially if you make it like I've been talking on this. This is the first time I'm talking on this. So the fact you jumped in there, how you jumped in there, it was very revealing to me. You feel me? And I ain't gonna listen, man. Rest in peace, Charles Johnson. You feel me? I ain't finna let nobody piss on my hand and tell me it's raining. The number three normalized. To be clear, people that's coming in right now. When you read the article that's being circulated that says that Fabi and that Mr. Simmons are scamming, lying hoaxers, when you read the article, none of the claims y'all saying and say is up in there. None of the claims y'all saying is up in there. You see what I'm saying? None of them. Before I get to the article, let's get back to this third practice. The third practice that's been able to justify Black people having their land literally extracted from them is predatory actions. Mr. Roundtree being able to spend some money and get this press made, that's obviously predatory. You see what I'm saying? Think about it. You're a poor elderly Black man and you have a legal dispute with a goddamn real estate company.
My name is John Simmons. I moved here 22 years ago. None of this over here was here. This was an isolated place. Nothing was here. And I worked hard. I took a wheelbarrow. It took me a year to clean this land up. And the city would not let me put a brick home here. They said I could only put a double wide. First they told me I couldn't put nothing here because I tore the old trailer home down that my father-in-law had. And I hired a lawyer. He charged me $10,000 to get on this land. And his name was, I'm trying to think of his name now. I can't call it.
But now what's happening?
But right now, the developer in this area, Trent Thomas, Roundtree Development, and their lawyers is trying to take my land. They asked me to sell.
You don't need more than $15,000 to cover them legal fees. Guaranteed. You see what I'm saying? So the fact that we acting like $15,000 is a whole bunch of money is really, man, I might as well do this. I'll give me $15K too. I'll fight with $15K. The fourth, you know what I'm saying? I said the three reasons, the top three reasons, you feel me? That's the article outlines that's being justified in the article. You feel me? Is the partition of sales, the lack of clear title, and predatory actions. You see what I'm saying? What I recognize from talking to whatever his name is, I really at first I wasn't gonna be there, but it's like, nah, I'm really annoyed. Because why would you think you being able to use your conflict of interest position of being the niece of the owner of this goddamn real estate? Why would you think it'd be smart to have a conversation with me and then you trying to talk down to me? You know what I'm saying? Like that's where you f***ed up at. That's really where you messed up at. Not only that, this article has caused more conflict in the black community in Bryan College Station than it has any solutions. You see what I'm saying? And y'all crazy in your mind. If you believe I'm going to put blood, sweat, and tears into creating a platform, and I'm not going to use that platform to speak about what's going on in the community I was born and raised in. This to be clear, to make sure my argument is being understood clearly. The heirs of property has played a significant role in the loss of black land in America. Heirs property refers to land that is passed down through generation, through generation, through generation without a clear and formalized legal title. Right now, what the Roundtree development is trying to do is exploit this family and exploit this land based specifically off the lack of a clear title.
We should have got 40 acres and a mule when we gained freedom in 1865, but we didn't. Regardless, though, many of us found a way to make it happen, because that's what we do. James Marshall, for example, bought nearly 200 acres of land from the Arkansas government in the 1920s along the Arkansas River. He was such a good dude that he decided to pass that land down to his caretaker and his family, a man named Roosevelt Dye, when he passed away in 2005. But then something happened. Roosevelt Dye paid off all the taxes. He had all his paperwork in order, but when he went to retrieve the land in 2005, he was met with opposition. When Roosevelt went to access his land in 2005, he was met by a lumber company named Anderson Tilley that said, "Nah, it's our land and we'll have you arrested if you don't leave." They went to court over this and the lumber company won even though Dye had his paperwork in order.
When you read that article, I really feel like they could have spent their money better. You see what I'm saying? When you read that article, 3 sentences that really pissed me off, and I knew they was playing with us. After extensive research, experts tell News 6 that the claim of land stealing is not as simple. It's not quite as simple as Peyton and Simmons' video claims. They also say this whole ordeal could have been avoided with the living will being in place. If you do your research and look at how many black descendants of land talk about how they shit got stolen, it's always justified. Well, you can't blame me. It's not my fault. It's your granddad's fault. It's your grandma's fault. They didn't have any living titles. Do y'all know what happened with Aretha Franklin up there in Detroit? The reason why they was having disputes between her estate was literally because them folks was trying to play procedural legal games, trying to steal from her. You see what I'm saying? Or no, steal her estate from her children. When you read the article, right, it says that this family inherited 37,000 acres of land. Do y'all know 37,000 acres of land? How many? That's multiple cities. I really want to know who approved this article that's riddled with so many typos. Y'all know when A&M moved to the SEC, y'all know how much money in real estate and how much industry that brought to our area. So of course it's literally making it where individuals that didn't value the land maybe in this particular part of the history, now they value it. You see what I'm saying? And y'all gonna sit here and tell me to my eyes and my face, literally, that hey George Lee, hey man, the reason why they stole, fam, they ain't had their paperwork around. When I tell, like right now, my own family is dealing with the same shit. It's over 1,000 heirs. Ain't no living titles. Ain't no living wills. Ain't no stress. Ain't no trust. And as a result, we have family beef sometimes. Imagine if a developer was able to come and exploit the family beef the conflict between my family and steal our land. See what I'm saying? Not only is this practice used against black folks, it's also used against indigenous Americans. It's used against a lot of Native Americans that was given different land rights. You see what I'm saying? And then they literally facilitate chaos.
1910. Black Americans owned about 15 million acres of land, mostly farmland. That's equivalent to black people owning the entire state of West Virginia. But by 1997, black land ownership was decimated, down to just 1.1 million acres of land, essentially the size of Rhode Island. So the question is, what happened? It was stolen. You see, over that 90-year period, white people developed multiple ways to take black-owned land. They used tools like tax laws, fraudulent contracts, and the Torrens Act. But they also used state-sanctioned violence. It's not enough to frame these events as the actions of a few bad actors, because those bad actors were fully enabled by local, state, and federal government officials. They were allowed to get away with it, and in some cases were encouraged by the federal government to take black-owned land through programs like urban renewal. According to a study by the American Bar Association, a conservative estimate of the cumulative value of the land and property stolen stolen from black people totals somewhere around $326 billion. If that represented the GDP of a country, that country's economy would rank 41st in the entire world, ahead of Finland, New Zealand, and South Africa.
Facilitate chaos. No. Manufacture chaos to facilitate the stealing of somebody's land. The number 2 reason, and all 3 of these reasons is obviously, if I was a lawyer, I would pin that tail on a damn donkey with this horribly written article alone. I think that I have a lot of confidence that I'd be able to win me a civil case, you see what I'm saying, about legal rights based off the article alone. The second reason, and this is the reason where it really, like y'all understand, I'm minding my business, making me a little Facebook post. Out of nowhere, the niece of the owner of the development company hit me up, telling me I'm spreading lies and that there's big pieces I'm missing. I'm in the comment section saying, hey, if the pieces are so big, just drop it. She automatically went into some condescending shit. Oh, everybody just want to be wrong. Or everybody just want to be right. Nobody want to be wrong. I do this work. Information is always changing. Information is always changing. On Monday, the reports might say this. By Wednesday, they can say something else. You can say, hey, guys, the reports have changed. So the idea, oh, he don't want to be wrong. You are using all these pseudo-intellectual tactics to try to literally hurt Fabi's credibility, Mr. Simmons' credibility, George Lee's credibility, because y'all know what y'all doing. It's not only is it immoral and it's unethical, y'all know that if ain't nobody paying attention to y'all ass, y'all get away with it easy. Number 2, the lack of clear titles. Here, property often lacks clear and formalized legal title due to historical and systemic factors of African-American families. We know that without a clear title, it becomes easier for others to challenge ownership and potentially claim the land for themselves. When you were reading the article, when it talks about how the Roundtree family how Roundtree had acquired some land based off them believing there were only 6 descendants of this land, and that one of the descendants came back and said, hey, y'all, I know that you split this land into 6 people. My dad is actually a legal heir to this land as well, and y'all owe me something. So the article states that the rest of the family was to give back 10%, you see what I'm saying, to the nieces, right? The article also acknowledges that there was a point that resulted into the Roundtree owning 10% of 1/7 of 37,000 acres. You know, shout out to the niece, though. She was able to clear that was a mishap. It's supposed to be 37, supposed to be a period and a dot, not a comma. You see what I'm saying? But it's like I'm basing this off of the information I've read. It's like my feelings. I'm giving y'all the portable skills of what I learned about African-American studies and what I learned about niggas being in the hood and what I learned about how we get shit stolen from us and what I see in the article. Let's get to that third reason, man. Predatory actions. Predatory actions may take advantage of here's property owners limited access to legal resources and knowledge about their rights. They may exploit vulnerabilities by offering predatory lending practices, persuading owners to sign over their inherited land or enter an unfavorable agreement, ultimately leading to the loss of their property. This came about when Mr. Simmons tried to give one of his nephews an acre of land, and that's when he learned the amount of land that he thought he owned, he didn't own it all. Want to be clear on that, right? So the idea of this came about literally when a black man tried to double check the status of the ownership of the land. He was not able to give the acre of land to the nephew. And to this, the part that blew my mind too. The article that's being circulated don't even got the man name right. Don't even like how you supposed to be clearing up the space and getting, you ain't got the man name right. This man name is Randall Williams, and the article say Randall Brown. It's really 37 point something acres, and the article say 37,000. You spreading misinformation. Hey, for everybody that's gonna be saying this in the comment section, I wanted to ask this question. How come they ain't got that much beef about spreading misinformation when it comes to this horribly written article with all these damn mistypos? So you got an issue with misinformation, but you ain't take that up when they sent you this article that's riddled with misinformation? You don't care about misinformation. You care about information that's gonna stop the justification of stealing land from this black man. Yeah, we don't care about misinformation. The article that y'all sharing is full of misinformation. Is it 37,000 or is it 37?
We're gonna do this together. We're gonna regroup. don't yell. We're just gonna tell people what we found out as of today, right?
Okay.
So like that university title. So we found the title, and it says that Roundtree Development has like a little smidge, and Trent has been like messaging me all day with names and things, and it just don't add up. It has like nothing to do with nothing. He legally owns 10%, which how he came about it, I would love University Title Company to explain that to me. Apparently this is like history that's repeating itself. I've had so many messages today about University Title Company and practices. It's like when I know a lawyer, when I know somebody, and somehow we finagle these things and we push people out of our land. We really need to work on resetting our core values. And so now I would really like to know how this happened. Like how? Because like you didn't know, did you?
I did not know.
And then the attorney ended up being what? You said you were
The
like,
attorney that I had to help me wound up being the one to help do this.
Get back to this fifth reason. I'm gonna let y'all go. You see what I'm saying? Tax liens. You feel me? The point of this live right here is to acknowledge, even if you feel me, y'all want to come out and say that Fabi was wrong. This is all based in the lack of financial literacy and us not understanding the law when it comes to land. Fabi did not come out of thin air and be like, hey, Mr. Simmons, man, you know what would really do something if we made us $15,000 on the GoFundMe? That's not what happened. See what I'm saying? This black man said that he was praying and hoping and wishing for somebody to help him. And Fabi appeared. So the fact now that y'all are concocting a YouTube 2007 conspiracy theory about this man getting his land stole, it baffles me. Here go two other reasons, two other ways that's been normalized to steal land from black people that all of us in Bryan College Station should be very conscious of and really be very, you know what I'm saying, vigilant about. You know what I mean? Because that's how they do it. The fourth one, you feel me, is legal barriers. You know that systemic racism through history has led to African Americans facing obstacles in obtaining legal documents for their land. Practices such as discrimination, lending, redlining, and unequal access to legal resources have made it difficult for black landowners to establish and maintain clear title, making them more susceptible to land theft. Let's read that sentence again. Practices such as discriminatory lending, redlining, unequal access to legal resources. That's the reason why you gotta have a GoFundMe, because you ain't gonna be able to go at a goddamn a real estate firm or real estate company with no money. You see what I'm saying? Hey, legal, it costs money. You see what I'm saying? And listen. In order for you to go with the big dogs, you're gonna have to go with. You're gonna have to really substantiate some money, man, some fees. Number 5, tax liens. In some cases, tax liens can be placed on the heirs' property, leading to forced sale or loss of land. That the inability to pay property taxes often due to financial constraints, result in auctioning off the land, satisfy the debt, leaving out rightful owners without resources. These are 5. I gave y'all 5 normalized ways that are historical when it comes to stealing land from black people. And I want to acknowledge there's always been other black people to use and utilize the tools of the system to be able to steal from other black people. I want to be clear on that. Anti-blackness is everybody implicated in anti-blackness. As a matter of fact, the first time I learned about anti-blackness was on the west side of Bryan, Texas, when another nigga was being anti-black to me. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear nothing about the Roundtree, not white, or this, that, and the other. This does nothing about this. This does not make them immune from facilitating anti-blackness when it comes to stealing and acquiring and extracting black land. Let's get more into the historical context of what we're getting into, because I know people are gonna be in the comment section doing all type of gaslighting. In the past, us as black folks have often faced challenges in obtaining legal documentation for our land due to systemic racism and inequality. We also can recognize that there is documentation of people sabotaging the documentation to make it where people have legal rights to land. If we can acknowledge, it makes it hard for us to be able to pass the land down from generation to generation by literally the absence of a living will or the absence of a trust. Do y'all recognize that historically speaking, there have been individuals to use their proximity to the law to be able to, quote unquote, make documents disappear? And be clear, I'm not saying this, I'm not accusing Roundtree of doing this. I'm just literally schooling y'all on the various ways of how people are able to use the legal system to facilitate stealing from black folks. And that's what we see right here. You're not finna use the beef and conflict of the black family and say this justifies me stealing your land. When y'all watched what is it, Soul Food, and they talking about selling Big Mama's house, and you recognize how the heirs, the descendants of Big Mama, had different relationships to that house, had different desires to obtain that house. That's what's going on right now. You see what I'm saying? Sell a house, don't sell a house. That's what's going on right now when it comes to Mr. Simmons and that land. So I'm already letting y'all know, black folks, they're going to try to literally use the idea that black people will have dysfunctional families and try to use that to manufacture controversy and chaos to make it where people be like, man, I'm tired of hearing about this. I don't want to hear about it no more. Man, I'm tired of it being over. That is literally one of the tactics that's always used to, you know, streamline this shit. You feel me? If I make it where it's too complex, niggas will stop paying attention to it and we good. As a result, this gave Trent Thomas and Roundtree Development 10% of a 1/7 portion that was left to Simmons' wife and his 6 siblings. When you're reading this article, you have to ask yourself, how did Trent Thomas and Roundtree go from owning 10% of the 1/7 portion to making it where Mr. Simmons don't even have the ability to give a land to some nephews? And if Trent Thomas and his team try to use the idea of creating a narrative that says, hey, because these black family had disagreements, this justify me taking the shit, that is a link to my argument. That proves the point that I'm literally illustrating in this video. Black people in the Bryan College Station, Texas, man, we beef with our family all the time. We have conflict with our family all the time. If y'all gonna sit here and tell me to my black ass face that because beef with each other in their family, this justifies external forces coming and taking benefit of that, and you don't see it as being immoral, unethical, not real. You see what I'm saying? I don't know what to do for you. You see what I'm saying? I don't know what to do for you. The concept that I would use is legal literacy. I would define legal literacy as the ability to read and write the law. I acknowledge that a lot of times us as a community, you feel me, both consciously and subconsciously, you know what I'm saying, unconsciously, really be dealing with legal illiteracy, especially when it comes to things that deal with land. Do not allow for these folks to use 10-cent journalism to create chaos. If I tell my daddy, hey, daddy, man, blah, 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 and my daddy say, well, Lil George, it's not that simple. My daddy is not disagreeing with me. That is not a disagreement to my statement. At best, you are saying there's more nuance and it's much more complex than that. But it is not a negation of what I'm saying. This article says that it is not as simple as Fabi and Mr. Simmons is saying. So if you say something that's not as simple as what they're saying, is it the same thing as calling them a lie? No. Unfortunately, Mr. Simmons wouldn't be someone that was including this. I'm going to read this right here to make sure we're following this correctly. You know what I'm saying? Additionally, a 7th sibling was left out the original petition deed that was done and listed to the other 6 siblings. Nathaniel Brown was the sibling that was cut out of the deed because he had already died at the time. However, his 2 daughters, Brenda and Cynthia Brown, sold the portion that claimed from their late father to the Roundtree in 2017. The fact they even include the information in there and it really does not resolve the conflict, to me, it showed me that you was really trying to cause You was trying to cause confusion. So what you're telling me is that because additionally the 7th sibling came about, this resulted in the Trent Thomas of Roundtree Development having 10% of a 1/7 portion that was left to Simmons' wife. You see the article? You see the article? You see it acknowledging? It's acknowledging that there was something left to Mr. Simmons' wife. Right? It's acknowledging that. It's acknowledging that. Be clear. It's acknowledging that. This the part that should have made y'all really be like, how does that make sense? You feel me? An undivided interest means 2 or more persons have interest in a property held under the same title. This means Cynthia and Brenda just sold their undivided interests to Roundtree, which was the last piece of property needed to clear the company's title to build more land. The question becomes, how did you acquire more land from Mr. Simmons' wife if they didn't sign any paperwork? I get it. It's not as cut and dry because he's not a blood family member. He married into the family, and that's what makes this more complex. Keep on reading. Because the unbeknownst part was the part that really like, wait, what? See what we're going to see right here. Peyton's viral post of Simmons spoke on his behalf of millions chimed in on a situation with Payton, showing no real proof of Simmons' claim. Cap. As a result, Thomas and his family have been threatened with violence and racial bias claims, which have overwhelmed them with emotions as online comments damage the family and the company. To be lied on, to be threatened at this point, my whole family has been damaged so that so that's what we're seeking. We could care less about the land at this point. We do not steal anyone's land. My whole life has been dedicated to expose that historical injustice. This is what I call bullshit. So how's your entire life you've been dedicated to speaking at these type of historical injustices, and then you're using the same tools of the historical injustices to get what you want? How have you dedicated your entire life to expose historical injustices? And as a real estate developer, you're literally using historical injustices, the tools of it anyway, to make a profit. He says now he plans to take legal action against Payton and those making threats as a result of the viral video. Who's making what threats? Who's making what threats? This is intimidation right here. If you eating sleep for dinner and you having a hard time of dealing with your 3 acres, the best way I can get your ass to back off is to tell you I will sue your ass. And whether you right or wrong, if you don't have the funds to be able to pay for the budget of a lawyer, so bye. That's what I read when I see this. You see what I'm saying? And this is the part that really I knew that was full of shit, how the article end. I forgive Mr. Simmons, but I think everybody is liable in this defaming, slanderous face of the show that is put in need to pay some criminal and pay some criminal and civil. So you in this article talking about misinformation in an article that's pushing misinformation. Think about that. So you worried about defamation and libel, but you have literally partnered with a company that is sending misinformation and defamation. Because you crazy in your head if you think that you should not be defamed and you should not be, you know what I'm saying, held accountable, but Mr. Simmons and Fabi can be defamed and slandered. Everything I'm saying is based off the article that Trent and the Roundtree Company obviously, you know what I'm saying, sanctioned and gave a thumbs up to, and the historical context of stealing land from Black people. To be clear, to make sure we clear with that. The last thing, I feel like the nail in the coffin right here, man. Simmons' wife, Joyce, and her 6 siblings each inherited an equal portion of 37,615 acre plot of land when their parents, Will and Pinky Brown, died. However, both died without a will. This article is saying that it's not as simply as put, and this all could be cleared up with a living will. This article is acknowledging that that Simmons' wife, Joyce, her family did not have a living will. Remember, I told you those 3 normalized reasons, those 3 normalized ways of how they steal land? However, both died without a will. This made Joyce and her siblings fall into heirship instead. I just gave y'all a full historical context of how specifically heirships have been used to steal land from Black people. And the article is saying it right here. This made Joyce and her siblings fall into heirship instead. So the article is acknowledging because Joyce's parents did not have a trust or a living will, this made it where they were locked into a heirship. Trent and his company are trying to exploit conflict and chaos around family heirships. Now, because I live in Bryan, not putting too much of my family business out there, right? There was a particular claim, you feel me, of some resources on our land. This article is literally pointing out the reason why people in my family beefing right now. This means the Browns had the legal right to perceive property split up amongst them in lieu of a will or a trust in place. The article also stated up ahead, it's not they ain't lying, but it's more complex than they say it is. And then y'all hopped on Facebook and made t-shirts and started talking about jokes about GoFundMes. And this article doesn't claim none of that. This is the part. This means the Brown had the legal right to receive property split up amongst them in lieu of a will or in a trust in place. Yet, unbeknownst to Simmons, this all took place in the midst of Simmons caring for his wife who was sick. Rewind a little bit. So the article tried to throw y'all out. You feel me? Really gave y'all a pump fake, cause a distraction, telling y'all about this seventh sibling, and you feel me? Their descendants and how they was able to come in and come claim the land retrospectively after it was sold. This article never outlines how, yet unbeknownst to Simmons, this all took place in the midst of Simmons caring of his wife who was sick. He merely thought he owned part of the alleged stolen land on the assumption that his wife left it to him before he died. So how did the Roundtree end up with any of the parts of the acres that was owned to Joyce Simmons, Mr. Simmons' wife? How? Yet unbeknownst to Simmons, this all took place in the midst of Simmons caring for his wife who was merely sick. Closing argument, man. According to the Brazos County Clerk Office, there is no record of Simmons' wife leaving a will or a trust in place. Is that not why I'm going off right now? Is the lack of a clear title not what I told y'all is one of the normalized practices they use to be able to steal black land? Have I not also been able to tell you literally that being able to exploit the different needs financially and capacity amongst black families has always justified stealing the land? This is what the Brazos County Clerk Office said. According to the Brazos County Clerk Office, there is no record of Simmons' wife leaving a will or a trust in place. However, John attempted to give the land that he thought he owned to his great nephew, Randall Brown. His real name is Randall Williams. Shout out to Sarah who wrote this horrible article. Before being informed by Roundtree that the entire Brown family sold their portions years ago. How did the entire Brown family sell their portions years ago if you can acknowledge that Mrs. Simmons, Joyce Simmons, was a legally was able to inherit land, right? So how do we jump from the Roundtrees having 10% of 1/7 of this lot to all of the entire Brown family sold their portions years ago? Did Joyce sell her piece? Do we have any legal, do we have a bill of sale that says that Joyce Simmons sold land to Roundtree? We don't. We have hit pieces from College Station News, and Roundtree obviously paid for the shit, that's literally manufacturing chaos and controversy to facilitate the stealing of this land. How can you acknowledge this? I don't know how this article can acknowledge that this woman had this much land, the rightful owner of this much. She was one of the one of the original 6 siblings that got land. But you say that all the so legally, who had the right to be able to sell Joyce Simmons' land? If Joyce Simmons didn't sell the land, Mr. Simmons didn't sell the land, the article is acknowledging that Joyce Simmons is a legal heir to 1/7% of 37,000 acres. We found that's a typo. It really means 37, right? This article raises more questions than answers. How did Joyce Simmons go from legally being an heir to 1/7 of this 37 acres to making it where you make the claim that the Brown family sold all the land to Roundtree? I'll holler, man. I'm out. It's been real.